Hello, my name is Salma Sania Sadila Simatupang, NIM 28024999466. Imagine a hacker wants to build an army of zombie computers to use in an attack. How does he do it? First, the hacker creates or spreads a virus, worm, or Trojan to many computers. This can happen through email, fake website, or pirated software. Second, once a computer is infected, it secretly becomes a bot that the hacker can control remotely without the owner knowing. Third, all this infected computer connect to the central system called a command and control server, which the hacker control. So, basically, the hacker can have thousands or even millions of computers ready to follow this command anytime. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. This type of attack overloads a website or server with too much traffic, making it crash. First, the hacker sends a command to the botnet to attack a target. Second, all the infected computer or bot send tons of requests to the target server at the same time. Third, the server gets overwhelmed, can handle all the traffic, and eventually shut down. Hackers use DDoS attack to take down business website, online gaming server, and even government site. A DDoS attack doesn't always shut down the server completely. Sometimes it just makes the server super slow or unresponsive, so user can access the website or service properly. Yes, there is similarly header information concept in air travel, just like in the protocol stack in computer networks. When we take a flight, we go through different layers of procedure. At each step, extra information is added, just like header in network protocols. 1. Ticket and boarding pass. Before flying, we buy a ticket and get a boarding pass. This is like a header in application layer, containing important info like passenger name, flight number, and destination. 2. Baggage tag. When we check in, our luggage get a tag with a unique number for tracking. This is like the header in the transport layer, helping ensure the luggage or data reaches the right destination. 3. Passport and visa. For international flight, we need a passport and visa. This is like the header in the network layer, making sure we have permission to enter the destination country, just like data package needing an IP address to reach the right location. 4. Security label. At the airport, our bags are checked and given a security label after passing inspection. This is like the header in the link layer, making sure the data is secure and sent through the right path. So, just like in computer networks, air travel has header in each step to make sure everything goes smoothly from start to finish.
Hello, my name is Chloe N. Richards, and my student ID number is 280-2225-954, and I am from class LB80. Today, I'm going to talk about how long it takes to send a file over a network using two different methods, using continuous transmission and stop and wait transmission. By the end of this video, you'll see which method is faster than and why. In continuous transmission, the entire file is sent in one uninterrupted stream. Let's say we have a file that is split into 20 packets and each packet contains 40,000 bits. That means the total file size is 20 times 40,000 equals 800,000 bits. If the transmission rate is R bits per second, the time to send the entire file is T continuous equals 800,000 divided by R. Since there's no waiting between packets, this method is very fast. And stop and waiting transmission. Now let's look at the stop and wait method. Here, each packet is sent one at a time, and the sender must wait for an acknowledgement before sending the next packet. For each packet, transmission time equals 40,000 divided by R. Plus, we have to wait for an acknowledgement, which includes round-trip propagation, delay of 2D seconds. So the total time for one packet is T packet equals 40,000 divided by R plus 2D. Since there are 20 packets, the total time is T stop and wait equals 20 times open bracket 40,000 divided by R plus 2D close bracket. This means that if the round trip delay 2D is high, the total transmission time increases significantly. And the last is about the comparison. So what's the difference? Continuous transmission is much faster because there's no waiting. The total time is just 800,000 divided by R. T continuous equals 800. Stop and wait transmission takes longer because each packet has to wait for an acknowledgement before each one can be sent. The total time is 20 times open bracket 40,000 divided by R plus 2D close brackets. If the delay 2D is large, stop and wait becomes much lower. That's why continuous transmission is much more efficient when possible. In conclusion, continuous transmission is always faster because it doesn't have to wait for an acknowledgement. Stop and wait, however, is useful when reliability is important, like in TCP or IP networks, where we need to make sure every packet arrives correctly. Next, I am going to explain about our 18th topic. It is about understanding propagation delay. Propagation delay depends on two things. It is the distance between the sender and receiver and the speed of the signal. It tells us how long it takes for the data to physically move across a link. The formula to calculate propagation delay is simple. Propagation delay equals distance divided by signal speed. T equals D divided by S. And then the next is example of the calculation. Let's do an example. If suppose we have a link distance of 2,500 kilometers, a signal speed of 2.5 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. First, we convert kilometers to meters by multiplying by 1,000. 2,500 times 1,000 equals 2,500,000 meters. Now we divide by the signal speed. 2,500,000 divided by 2.5 times 10 to the power of 8. This gives us 0.01 second or 10 milliseconds. So in this example, the propagation delay is in 10 milliseconds. That means it takes 10 milliseconds for a bit to travel across the link. Important things to remember is that propagation delay depends only on distance and signal speed. It does not depend on packet size or transmission rate. The farther the distance, the longer the propagation delay. Thank you for listening.
Hello everyone, my name is Rizal Malaja. I'm from LB 18, name 280-250-9012. Today I'm gonna answering group project from chapter homework and problem and question. Chapter 1 review question, section 1.2 and section 1.1. R3. Why standard is important for protocols? Answer. First of all, what the protocol is? Protocol define the format, order of the message sent and received among the network entities, and action taken on message, transmission, and receipt. Standards are crucial for protocol because they 1. Ensure interoperability. Different systems and devices can communicate seamlessly when used command agreed upon standards. 2. Promote efficiency. Standards protocol reduce complexity, enabling fasting development and implementation technologies. 3. Reduce cost. Organizations can develop technology more economically when they don't need to create unique communication method from the scratch. And we are moving to section 1.2. R4. List 4 access technologies. Classify each one as a home access, enterprise access, or wide area wireless access. The first one is DSL, Digital Subscriber Line, is category as home access, and number two is cellular LTE 4G, is category as wide area wireless access, and number three is Ethernet, in category as enterprise access, and number four, the last one is cable modem, is category in as home access. And we are moving to the problems P26. Referring to the problem P24, suppose we can modify R. For what value of R is the width of a bit as long as the length of the link? Let R be the bit rate and the D as the link distance. Width of a bit equals C/R, where a C is the speed of light, and length of the link is D. Setting this equal C/B equal D, and re-engineering for R. R equals C/D. Assuming D equal 3000 km, approximate distance to the LA, and C equal 3 times 10 8m/s. R equal 3 times LO slash 8 and slash 3 times 10 6 meter. The answer is 100 Mbps.
Hello Sarari, this is about assignment for the group, and then I will do my part about P27. Calculate the bandwidth delay product R X drop D prop. Understanding bandwidth delay product. This product represents the maximum amount of data that can be in transit on the link at any given time. It's crucial for understanding link isolation and efficiency. So, in calculation, we have this. And then we're going to be considering sending file of 800,000 bits from host A to host B. Suppose the file is sent continuously as one big message. What is the maximum number of bits that will be the link at any given time? So the key concept is like with continuous transmission, the links become filled with a capacity determined by the bandwidth delay product. So assuming the entire file is sent as the continuous message, the maximum number of bits in the link at any would be the minimum of the file size and the bandwidth delay product. So like this, if the bandwidth delay product is greater than 800,000 bits, then the entire file could be in flight at some point. However, since its maximum number and the file continues, the maximum will be the entire file size of 800,000 bits. If the bandwidth delay product is less than 800,000 bits, then the maximum number of the bits in the link will be equal to the bandwidth delay product. And then C, what is the width in meter of a bit in the link? Understand bit width. This refers to a physical length of single bit occupies on the transmission medium. And this is the calculation. And then we move on to the section 3, 1.3. So in section 1.3, we gonna comparison between circuit switch network and packet switch network. So let's talk about the feature about connection. So in connection, circuit switch network, they dedicate fixed path as lies before transformation. Meanwhile, packet switch network, no fixed path that is set in the packet along various routes. And then we have bandwidth, circuit switch network guarantee and not exclusively allocated, while packet switch network shared dynamically among few users. And then we have performance. Meanwhile, such circuit switch network predictable, consistent delay, low jitter, but packet switch network has variable delay potential for higher jitter. Let's talk about the efficiency. Circuit switch network can be efficient if connection are idle, meanwhile packet switch network more efficient for bursty data traffic and resource of bandwidth, circuit switch network duration of connection. Resource and then packet switch network resource allocated on demand as needed. And then we have complexity. Circuit switch network has simpler routing and more complex setup. Meanwhile, packet switch network have complex routing and simpler setup. And then circuit switch network is best for real-time application, voice and video. Meanwhile, packet switch network has best for data transfer, internet, browsing, and email. Alright, thank you, sir.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aisyah Finasari with name 28025328854. Today, I want to answer a question. List 5 tasks that a layer can perform. First is encapsulation and decapsulation. A layer can add headers when sending data and remove headers when receiving it. 2. Error detection and correction. Ensuring data integrity by checking for errors and possibly correcting them. 3. Flow control. Managing data transmission speed to prevent congestion or overwhelming a receiver. 4. Routing and forwarding. Finding the best path for data to travel through a network and forwarding it accordingly. 5. Encryption and decryption. Protecting data by encoding it before transmission and decoding it upon reception. Is it possible that one or more of these tasks could be performed by 2 or more layers? Yes, some tasks are handled by multiple layers for redundancy and efficiency. For example, it's 1. Error detection and correction can be performed at the data link layer. 2. Encryption and decryption can be handled at the application layer, transport layer, or network layer. 3. Flow control is managed at the transport layer and sometimes at the data link layer. Now I'm going to answer the question of P29. For the first one, we have to find the propagation delay. So dprop equals distance divided by speed. So dprop equals 3.6 times 10 to the power of 7 divided by 2.4 times 10 to the power of 8 equals 0.50 second or 150 millisecond. The second one, we have to find the bandwidth delay. So R times dprop equals 10 to the power of 7 bps times 0.50 second equals 1.5 times 10 to the power of 6 bits equals 1.5 mbit. The third one, we have to find the minimum size of photo for continuous transmission. So the T transmit equals X divided by R. In setting, T transmit greater equals 16 seconds. So X divided by 10 powered by 7 greater equals than 60. X greater equals than 6 times 10 to the power of 8 bits equals 600 mbits or 75 MB. So the final answer is propagation delay. It's 150 millisecond. The bandwidth delay product is 1.5 mbits, and the minimum photo size is 600 mbits or 75 MB. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.